This video will demonstrate how to assemble your Spin Touch RapidScreen scanner with the floor stand that was provided. Start by gently pushing the cables from the tablet through the first pull section, which is labeled number 1. Some devices may have 2 USB cables. If that is the case, you can stagger them to fit through the pull. To fit everything through, you can fold the remaining cables backwards to get them through the pull. Once the cables are through the pull section, you can attach the pull to the back of the tablet using the ball joint. After connecting the joint, you will want to screw on the cap. Now continue by feeding the cables through the next pull section, which is labeled number 2. When inserting the cables into pull number 2, you want to start with feeding the cables through the end of the pull that has a small notch and smooth inside. Once the cables are through, you can lock this pull section to the first one by depressing the bearings. To connect pull number 1 and number 2 together, you will want to align the part of the number 1 pull that has a stacked bearing to pull number 2 that has the inside notch and firmly pressed. This connection may take some force. At this point, you want to attach the extension cables. It's ideal to wrap the cable around the extension as shown to avoid them being disconnected over time. Do the same with each of the other extension cables. Once the extension cables are connected, you can feed them through the next pull section, which is labeled number 3. When inserting the cables into pulls number 3 and 4, you will want to start with feeding the cables through the ends of the pulls that has the threading on the inside. You will also want to put the ends of the original cables into the pull itself. Now connect pull number 3 to pull number 2 in the same way as before. Push the extension cables through the next pull section, which is labeled number 4. You can then attach this pull section in the same fashion. Proceed by doing the same with the final pull section, which is labeled number 5. With the final pull attached, you can then connect the floor stand piece. Put the extension cables through the floor stand and set into position. Then you can use the provided hex nut to secure. With the floor stand attached, you should then stick on the slip-resistant strips at the bottom. One of the strips will split into 2 pieces for the side that has a gap. Now that the strips are in place, you can plug in the device and stand it up. Make sure you fit the cables into the gap in the floor stand before standing up the device. An important final adjustment is to make sure the device is at a good angle, using the cap at the top to tighten it into place once the angle is right. Now the device is ready for scanning. For initial setup, we recommend calibrating the device from the on-screen menus. If you are in need of assistance, please feel free to reach out to our support team at support@spintouch.com.